Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today, I am joined by one of Bachelor Nation's favorite personalities and one of my great personal friends, Kelley Flanagan. Kelley gained recognition after being on Peter Weber's season of The Bachelor back in 2019, 2020. And although Kelley did not win Peter's heart on the show, the two of them have reconciled after the show and become one of Bachelor Nation's favorite couples. Outside of her time on the show, Kelley has developed a very distinguished career as an attorney and has also established a social media following of over 1 million followers between Instagram and TikTok. Today, we're going to discuss her experiences on The Bachelor, what her career as an attorney looks like, life as an influencer, and all the ways that she has been able to capitalize financially on her huge platform. Kelley Flanagan, thank you so much for being here. We are excited to have you on Trading Secrets.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me. I'm not going to lie, I am exhausted,
You're
so
shot.
I might be a little bit boring, but
And
I'm going to do my best.
why are you shocked? What's going on? I mean, last night we all had dinner.
And it was
Me,
great.
You, Evan, Peter.
Yeah.
We stayed out late. Did you stay? Did you guys go continue your escapades?
No, we literally went home. You know, I didn't drink all day yesterday. It's not even about that.
Did you not drink at all yesterday?
No,
Not even at dinner you did it.
I barely do. I barely ever drink. It's just like not my thing. But I don't know. Lately I've been exhausted and shot, and I don't know if it's my Lyme disease, and I'm sure we'll get more into that. But it just hits me out of the blue, and it's like I almost can't function because I get so tired. Like for no reason.
See, I like when I feel that, especially because this is like a more of a business type podcast.
Yeah,
I want to like tap into that because it impacts everything.
Yeah,
it impacts how you are professionally. It impacts your work.
For sure.
Impacts yourself with a partner.
Like the worst thing I want is to be around people that I'm not like 100% comfortable with when I'm in these moods, because I get moody.
Sure.
I get like short, and then people are always like, oh my God, like why is she being that way? And I was like, you guys just have no idea how I feel. So like when I'm out with my friends and they bring like a newcomer in, I'm like, this is the last thing I want. And it's not necessarily, it's just too much because I can't. Like, to put on that facade and, like, act great, it takes a lot of energy when you're in this mood. So, I could be a loner at times.
Do you think that is like I think that's a thing within this world, like the reality television thing creates. I think it creates this thing where you have this extreme paranoia. Mm-hmm. Like, you're always just worried about making an impression because you just never know, I don't know, where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Or if someone says anything. Yeah. And then you feel like you always have to be on. But being on just drains your batteries. Like, have you felt any of that since you left the show?
Yeah, of course. And that comes from the show. But this is even, like, more, I would say, exclusive than that. Like, even if I'm with my friends and they bring, like, a new friend around. You know what I mean? Like, having to sit there and have a conversation with them and me being, like, super, super exhausted to the point where I could probably fall asleep right there. It's like, I don't want this newcomer to come around and be like, oh, this is my friend Kelley. You know, I've spoken so highly about her, and I'm just a dud. Being like, hey, where are you from? You know, so it's just hard. When it comes to like meeting people or fans like on the street, it's very easy to put on for 2 seconds. Hey, how are you? Good. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like, yeah, let's get a picture. But when it's actually like I have to drag along a conversation and talk to them and not feeling well, that's when that's not good.
Would you I'm just curious now, my curiosity is driving me. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? Like,
it's funny because it just depends on the way I feel. Like I could be I'm sorry, that's my phone.
We got anyone good over there?
No.
Kelley, I mean, the reason I say anyone good because Kelley's contact list is outrageous. We will talk about networking next. It's insanity. Before we get into that, are you an introvert or extrovert?
I would say I'm more introverted than extroverted. I definitely like to have fun and socialize and stuff like that, but definitely more introverted.
Interesting.
Yeah, because a lot of people wouldn't guess that. Because when I am out and I do have energy, I would say like I can have like high energy. Like, hey, how are you? What's going on? But then,
and you even come out and like, and we're gonna get into your work stuff, but even on the show, I think in an Instagram stuff, you come off as extroverted. Yeah, you come off as like, I'm gonna say how it is. I'm fearful of nothing. This is who I am.
That's
like,
true.
I'm Kelley the attorney. Watch out, bitches. And you would say that you don't think that's what it is.
No,
that's not Kelley Flanagan.
No.
Okay.
I'm sure at dinner with all of us last night, you were probably like, God, this girl speaks her mind so much.
No, I loved it. I mean, it's great. That's actually, I don't want to get too much into that world, but it is part of your world, just being with like you and Peter and Evan and stuff. Mm-hmm. I just loved how open the discussion was.
Oh, yeah.
And I think if you can have an open discussion like that, it also creates so much ease in a relationship because you know where you stand.
Yeah.
Right?
No, for sure. I'm very blunt.
I love it. She's blunt. All right, let's get into you always being on because there's a great story from yesterday. Okay, so I finished my podcast. I finish at 5:30. And I'm with my producer Evan, and Evan says I'm going to the Yankees game, and I say, Evan, you're out of your mind. You're going to arrive there at 6:30. You're going to catch 2 innings, and you have to go 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back. I'm not going. He goes, that's fine. I'm going. So he goes. He does his thing. And I knew he was in good hands. That's why I left him, because I knew he was going to be with you and Peter.
Yeah.
And he loves you guys. So I wasn't like leaving him hanging. So he gets there, and then he shows me your seats. Seats, like, they were okay. They were average, not the best seats in the world, not the worst seats in the world, but you're at the Yankees playoff game. And I said, you know what? He's going to catch 3 innings. I made the right choice. All of a sudden, I get a text of a video of the biggest suite I've ever seen and a text from Evan Saar saying, we are in the Steinbrenner suite at the Yankees game. I started motherfucking what the fuck? How did I fuck this up? And then they were explaining that you actually went to boarding school with the Steinbrenner's daughter.
Yeah.
And it just, your network is next level.
Yeah.
I mean, tell everybody just a little bit about, like, what is Kelley like as a networker? Is it intentional? Is it because you went to school? Do you have a certain thing that you apply to? How do you fucking know everybody?
I would say it's definitely both. One, I was fortunate enough growing up that I was just placed in crazy, crazy places where, a lot of really successful people have been. Between my boarding school, it was really cool. There would be people all over the world. I was dating a guy out in the Middle East. Like, when are you ever going to meet someone in the Middle East? And, I had a lot of friends from Mexico. I had a lot of friends from Asia. But a lot of people send their kids to this, like, prestigious boarding school.
What is this boarding school?
It's called Culver Academies. It's in Indiana. It's actually military for the guys.
Oh, so you weren't in Chicago?
No, it was in Indiana, in the middle of a cornfield. So what's cool about it is a lot of like really important people will come there, but they can't necessarily have that ego behind them because everyone is in a uniform. You can't like put on, you can't use your money to your benefit like a lot of people in New York. Oh, I got a table here, be my friend, all that stuff. When you're in the middle of a cornfield with people who do come from a lot of stuff or don't come from a lot of stuff, like you can't really tell because no one was able to flaunt their money or use it to their benefit. Like, we're in a cornfield. Like, you want to go play volleyball? Like, you want to go play baseball? Like, you didn't really have too many options. But what's really cool about that boarding school is since you don't have many things to do, you get to know everyone on such a personal level that, like, it doesn't matter if you don't see them for 10 years. Like, you still know, like, their heart. You know who they are. You know them at their core because you're essentially living with them, So what's the deal?
Just help me out here. I feel like the voice of viewer, David, you're going to love that. The Curious Canadian. I know you've met David. He's a beauty.
He's amazing.
What is the difference of a prep school and a boarding school? Is there a difference?
Don't quote me on this, but from what I think the difference is a boarding school, there's like more boarding students. So like the students are actually living on campus.
Got it.
So like, again, we had people all over, I think it was 95% of the people were actually living on that campus versus like day students who were like going back home to their parents' house and stuff like that. Like, I was living in a dorm with 3 other girls, as the majority of the campus was doing as well.
So you're living there full time. Why, in your head, like when you graduate middle school, at any capacity were you thinking like, I'll go to a private school in Chicago or I'll go to the public school? Or was it always set that you were going to this boarding
school? I think
I
knew from 3rd grade. There was definitely more pressure when I have 5 older siblings and all of them go through there.
So they all went to this school? They
all went there. So when I was, I think, in 3rd grade, I was like, I'm going here. And again, my parents never put pressure on us in the sense that they would be like, you're forced to go here.
Yeah.
But, Yeah, it was just more of like I felt the pressure because I had to essentially like do what all of them did. Like it would be weird for me to be the only one to not choose that. And I saw how like much it benefited you. Like it made you grow up fast. So it was military for the boys, but also the girls had to follow some of like the military rules. Okay. So like every morning we would get our uniforms checked. Like someone would come in, make sure it was like appropriate. We would have to like make our bed, clean our room. Every morning it would get checked. So we had to follow like some of the military guidelines all throughout high school. And it was just a crazy experience. I remember I saluted. So a lot of these teachers that are there, a lot of them were like, used to be in the military for 25 years or something crazy like that. And I was just being like a stupid high school student. I think I saluted one of like the lieutenants or, one of the teachers, and I saluted him the wrong way. And I almost got detention for that one because he took so much offense. And like, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just being an idiot. But like, again, that's something not to necessarily joke about. But, I wasn't thinking in the moment. So when I did that, he was just like, how dare you? And he like ripped me over, and I heard
you got a mouthful.
Yeah.
What do the Steinbrenners went to your school, and a lot of big names have gone to your school. Yeah. What does it cost?
I think when I was going there, it was maybe like 35,000. Again, I feel very fortunate, but feel bad for my dad having to put 6 kids through that, and then college, and then law school. Imagine that. He did boarding school for us, and then he did college for all of us, and then he did 5 law school.
Because all you guys are attorneys.
Yeah,
so
we.
Dad's a hero and a legend.
We ripped him dry.
Talk to me about this, because most people like myself hear that, and we're like, I don't understand. I'm still trying to grasp the concept of boarding school. Yeah. So when people are paying the Steinbrenners, all these people, right? They want their kids to go to boarding school. What's kind of the thought? Why is the boarding school the play? Like, what's the return? What's the angle?
I can go on for hours on this one. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I first went there, again, I'm the youngest of 6. I was kind of a little bit more like I would get away with murder at home because my parents are older. They started super late to have kids. My dad like kind of already made his success at that point. But when he was grinding, like he wasn't married, he didn't have kids. So he was able to just like focus mainly on that. But there were so many times where I'd be like screaming. Every dorm has like a counselor. Mm-hmm. So like the counselor, if you get in trouble, you got to go to them. And there would be times I would be like running down being like, I hate this place because it was so strict. And I was used to like, I don't know.
Freedom.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like going on AIM and messaging my friends. Here, internet shuts out you have what is it called? CQ, which is study hours. I think that was from 7:30 to 9:30. We had no cell phones. Your phone, like your dorm phone, would have to be out in the hallway. So you're studying nonstop. And then after 9:30, you get 15 minutes. Like if you had a boyfriend or a friend or had to run out of your dorm, you had 15 minutes till 9:45. You got to come back in. The doors lock. If you're late, you get detention. Lights out at 10:30. Damn. So people walk by, make sure your lights are out, make sure you're sleeping. So it was like a huge adjustment for me. You know what I mean? Like internet shuts out. I think it was at 10:30, and it would just be like, oh my God, okay. Like I wasn't used to that, how strict it was. Your room had to be clean every single morning. Like you would get inspected. Like think about that. It's a lot of pressure for a 14-year-old child. Doing like your laundry, you had to learn how to do that. Like, a lot of these people that came from maybe wealthier backgrounds or didn't have the best upbringing in terms of like their parents being there for them, like it creates structure in you. And not only that, like Culver was very big on making sure that like all of their teachers were just like the best of the best. So they're living on campus. If you weren't doing well in a class, like you couldn't get away from your teachers. You see them at lunch, you see them at dinner, you see them around campus.
Where are you going to go?
So like they would invite you to their house and being like, if you're struggling, you're going to come in and I'm going to like teach us to you. So it was just so strict. And then we had like, what was it called? We had essentially like a leadership program within the school. So like you had a dorm chair. So like the girl in the dorm would be she would be in charge of her dorm. You would have like a bunch of different positions. And so you had to take like leadership and learn how to essentially like lead other people.
Gotcha.
And you had like people below you. So that was usually like the juniors and seniors, the freshmen and sophomores would be the people that you were leading. So it was just like at the age of 14, you really knew how to just like live by yourself. You know, mommy and daddy aren't doing anything for you.
So it's a super accelerated thing where at 14, most Americans, I'm thinking, are probably experiencing this at like 18, 19 in college.
Yeah.
You guys are experiencing it at 14. So it accelerates your path, I feel like. And then I feel like the other thing, the biggest takeaway I'm thinking about is a lot of these individuals have parents that are working literally 24/7 and probably have a nanny their whole life growing up. So as a result of that, the idea of like maybe the discipline and the attention that's needed at that level is less than existent, and this creates that, right? Why?
And not only that, I think the biggest thing that I took away from it is maintaining relationships. You just learn, like if you are, you know, a lot of people can go to school, they could be the shy kid, they come back to mommy and daddy and just their siblings and you're fine. You got to go to the school, you now know no one, you might have some siblings there, but at the same time, like you have to learn how to make yourself happy.
Yeah.
You in that situation. Like you can't rely on anyone else. Like you have to learn how to make friends because you're going to be living with them. You have to learn how to maintain them, respect them because you could blow them real fast. You know, like if you screw someone over, you're going to see them the next day.
Yeah, totally.
So it's like you learn loyalty, you learn friendships, you learn how to maintain friendships, you learn just essentially, and it's so diverse there in terms of just like where everyone comes from. You learn so much about their culture, about what you like, about what you don't like. And it just like makes you a little bit more open-minded.
Okay.
Because I was just like, oh my God, like you're from, you know, Asia. Tell me about this. Like, how do you guys do this? How do you do that? And it would be cool. Spring break, you would go, you would visit them. And I just experienced so much at such a young age, but was able to kind of learn how to make myself happy and also learn like my likes and dislikes and just about other people's cultures and how people differ.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So to be in that type of school, and obviously your dad put you guys through that, let's just call a spade a spade. There's a lot of wealth there to be able to do that. Was that with your father? Did he start the law firm, or where did it all come from? So
I'll actually be honest. My dad had an extremely hard upbringing, and my mom did too. My mom, you know, came from the mountains of Greece, was playing with like lamb bones as toys, like had no hot water, no running water, and she was the manager at Jewel, like working her ass off. She had 2 jobs to get her degree. She would come home, she's Greek, her parents would like beat the crap out of her because a woman wasn't supposed to get a degree. Wow. She was paying rent in her own house. And my dad didn't come from anything, and his story was a little different. It was more of a trophy wife situation where like my grandma was this like beautiful blonde bombshell from Finland. Okay. And my grandpa was like, I think she was like 23, and then my grandpa was like 6 years old and, you know, a very Irish Chicago guy. So his mom kind of left him really young because she wasn't ready to like raise kids. Yeah. So she left and he was raised by his grandma, his Finnish grandma. And then the dad was still kind of like going around Chicago doing his thing. Yeah. So he like loved my dad and his brother, but like wasn't necessarily there day to day. Sure. So then my dad actually he got sent off to a boarding school a little bit more just because of, you know, people were busy and didn't necessarily like want to take care of him. Yeah. And he still kind of has like nightmares from it. Like, you know, trains go by and it's like PTSD because he was so upset when he would like go by these, that he was there knowing that like that was the case. Yeah. But he went to a rival of Culver that actually shut down. But, you know, when he became successful in his own right, you know, he worked his ass off to start a law firm. He was an assistant state's attorney in Chicago. Wow. And was working with, like, Mayor Daley, like, you know, the mayor of Chicago back then. And he just made himself super, super well connected. And he just kind of got thrown this opportunity to be like, why am I not in this space of law? So he started it. He had no family. You know, he didn't have a wife. He didn't have kids. So all he had was time on his hands to entertain clients, to start his law firm. And he killed it. And he's doing really well. But that was all on his own. That's amazing. Yeah. And so was it instilled in you guys, like your family, you guys are all going to go be attorneys? Like you're going to go to law school? No. Because all you guys did. Yeah. And I've seen clips of it. I've never met your siblings, but super sharp dudes. Yeah. Like everyone is like, you know, sharp as a tack.
that wasn't instilled. That wasn't like you're going to law school.
No, I think my dad's like the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Like he's just so kind. My mom's more of like the little go-getter who's a little feisty. But no, my dad would always, say education's the most important thing. Like if you have some kind of just like knowledge behind you, you could do anything. You know what I mean? Like he was so big on education. So he would always push us. And there was times I think one of my brothers almost failed 5th grade because he had 32 missing assignments. So like we were not great children, we were messing up a lot. But my dad would always kind of just push, like, make sure you have some kind of background, make sure that you're always like educating yourself in some degree. And then he would definitely say the pros of it and like sell us on them and being like, listen, it just makes you think different. The way like it is just so beneficial to have that knowledge behind you. So, my first brother decided, my second brother didn't. So my second brother is not an attorney. And all of the rest of us followed track. But it was, I would say I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
Like I wasn't, one of my brothers, he knew since he was like 4 years old. He's like,
you were just like, I'll give it a shot. That's the direction I've seen of success. I'm going to go.
Yeah.
All your other family members that have done it, other than your one brother, are they all working for your dad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your other brother who didn't do it, what does he do?
He is a farmer.
And does he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He's like obsessive with plants.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, that's wild. I'm taken aback by that. Okay.
But you'll also be taken back because you would think like, okay, all of them are attorneys. No, my brothers are big. Like we have farm out in Illinois and they go and they love hunting, but like they're like creating their own ecosystem out there and they're buying pheasants, they're buying bats, like the bats to eat. I think like the ticks or something. Like
like a whole
they're literally
system.
trying to start their own ecosystem out there. Like they grow farm, they grow like, so it's, my family is very different from what you would think like a typical attorney is. Like they're goons, they're idiots, but
I love it. It's very well balanced. But so then you go to, by the way, I love that you went to the University of Alabama, something we never learned on the show.
No one ever knows that.
So you go to University of Alabama, you get your degree. Do you consider going to other law firms to work, or do you immediately say, I'm definitely going to
so actually when I got to my family law firm, I'm huge in traveling. I love traveling, and I kind of wanted to go to London. So I was trying to figure out if I could like go use my law degree over there. And then I was like, you know what? Let's give this a shot. So I started working for my family to see if I liked it, started taking more courses because what they essentially do isn't totally law related. Yeah. There's other things involved with it. So I started taking more courses to like learn the ropes. And no, I would have been happy there. I definitely would have been happy staying there. But yeah, I think I was just in a period of, what am I doing? And then I decided to go on the show.
And your family, though, they're in tax law, right?
Yeah.
Tax law. Okay.
They do property tax appeals for commercial real estate.
So
essentially, like a lot of people don't understand that, but like say you have a really big building, some kind of skyscraper building, they essentially go and they do the taxes on those buildings because every year those buildings have millions of dollars of taxes to pay.
Of course.
And like the government essentially comes and says something along the lines of like, hey, this is what your taxes are going to be.
Right.
And what my family does is they essentially help these companies get it down to some kind of like mediation price or negotiation price that like actually is fair. Because they just put a big stamp on you and say, hey, this is what you owe.
Okay.
So we appeal them and we say, no, actually, we don't owe that much because this, that, and the other.
Based on X, Y, and Z law.
Yeah, and when you're dealing with millions of dollars, it's a lot for these companies.
Huge impact. Got it. Okay. So you go to work and then the question I got asked before the show, how the hell do you sit there eye to eye with your dad, who put you in boarding school at $35K a year, put you through Alabama, put you through law school, and try and negotiate your salary? Like, what the hell does that look like?
No, we all knew that, like, again, with me, like, everything was already set in stone. So when it came to salary, like, it's more of a trade-off. Like, my dad was he was like paying rent, and then he was paying my phone bills, and then my health insurance and stuff like that.
How are you going to negotiate with that?
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay.
When you started there, did you ever actually think in 10, like we talk about career navigation and pay transparency on this podcast, did you actually think in 10 years from then you'd still be a working attorney?
That's a good question. I've always kind of like never really knew, where I'd be. I don't think like that. Like, I know other people, like, for example, Peter's like, I wanted to be a pilot since I was 4. And I was like, I've never worked like that. I've never been, like, attached to something so much that, like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Like, right now, I'm doing influencing stuff. Who knows what I'll be doing in 6 months? Who knows what I'll be doing in a year? I have no clue. I just have never gotten attached. So, like,
what do you, like, dream 6 months from now?
I can't even tell you.
You don't know?
I can't tell you.
Kind of love that.
Yeah. I just like.
So how do you know that you're doing is right?
Because I enjoy it.
Okay.
If I don't enjoy it, then it's time to switch something up, and I'll figure it out.
And do you enjoy? We're going to get into the show for a minute, just like about the career changes. But do you thoroughly enjoy the work that you do now?
Yeah.
What do you enjoy most about it?
The freedom.
The freedom's incredible.
Yeah. And not only that, but freedom, you have to understand that, like, again, I was working with all my siblings, so they're sitting there, and one of my brothers is the biggest asshole sometimes, I'm not going to lie, but, like, he would be like, go get my car washed, and if I wouldn't, he would be like, okay, like, we're going to take away this from you, take away that from you, so they would kind of, like, it was kind of like I was their little puppeteer that would have to do everything they said, or they would start limiting
You were
me.
Like the intern, because you're the youngest
not
one,
even the intern.
You're coming on board.
It would be like personal stuff, like go clean this, and again, I'm exaggerating, but like,
of course,
it would be things that were not law related to any degree. And then, like, if I didn't listen, he would be like, okay, like, we're not gonna give you this, or they would, like, just try to, like, you know what I mean? Like, limit me in certain ways. And I was like, oh, God. So it was, like, constantly in fear of kind of my own family to some degree, because my oldest brother could be such a bully. Like, he really is. But just now knowing that, like, I could work when I want, do what I want. I'm making great money. And I don't have someone essentially, I don't know, telling me what to do in that sense.
Yeah, I think guys at home, the one thing that's really important is I grew up with a lot of families. I think the affluent families, at least in a small town like Buffalo, they have made it because most of them, not everyone, but most of them have family businesses there, and it's been a generational thing. And you would expect a lot of those businesses to have, like, just sweet Jesus meals every day, living the life, things are good, everything's bliss, rainbows and roses. And the stories I've heard internally from a lot of these family offices where you think everything's picture perfect are things that are 100 times worse than I ever heard in the corporate world. And so I do think it's good to, like, give some visibility into that. Family businesses, while extremely can be lucrative and great and everything else, like, it could be really tough too.
Hard.
It could be really hard.
Yeah.
You're balancing a lot. Who gets what? Is there an ego issue with that? Who's taking over? I mean, there's a lot that goes into that stuff.
What I'm fortunate about is there are 6 of us, so we all know each other's flaws pretty well. But we're actually so close, and yes, we will go off on each other and we'll tell each other, like, you suck, all this stuff. But we actually get along so well that, like, none of us will leave anyone out to dry, which is such a cool feeling because, you know, for how much I complain about my brothers, like, they help me so much. I can't thank them enough. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, it's so cool to have a soundboard to just go to and being like, hey, like, I'm stuck with this decision. Like, what do I do? And everything they say, like, I'm like, you're smart. Like, like, thanks. I need that. Like, it makes sense. Like, they're just smart individuals that you could trust.
So when you were offered the opportunity to go on the reality show, The Bachelor, at this point, when they're carting you around saying, go do this, go do that, to you, is it a no-brainer, or are you thinking through it?
Oh, no, I thought through it because they were on top of me.
They didn't want you to go.
Yeah. Some did, some didn't. It was like a 50-50 split.
Who in your family wanted you to go? Who didn't want you to go?
My dad had no idea what it meant.
What did mom think?
My dad, like, my mom was excited. She was thrilled. Half was like I remember one of them, and he's probably like the most low key, was like, go through the process, like, it'd be fun, like, but don't actually do it. Mm-hmm. My other brother, who's sweet, the farmer, he was just like, do whatever you want. And then my 2 other brothers were like, abso-fucking-lutely not.
Was there any risk in, like, again, higher profile family, you guys have a lot of big clients, you're getting fucking snuck into this Steinbrenner suite, that goes on. I mean, was there anybody in the family like, you can ruin our reputation?
Oh, absolutely. Because not only that, with my family, like, again, people who own commercial real estate, it's the 1%, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So not only that, like, our clientele is the 1% because they're all owning, we're dealing with commercial real estate. So my brothers are extremely, extremely well connected because these are their clients. So, like, that's why I know a lot of these people, too.
Got it.
Is so I'm essentially hanging out with our clients. And, again, they have connections and stuff like that. So that's why you're like, what is happening here? Yeah. But, again, like, think about our clientele. And my brothers have to constantly, like, be around those type of people. I forgot where I was going with this.
We were talking about a little bit about the impact of you going on the show. And just, like,
yes. So, so they're dealing with, like,
risk.
They're dealing with really high-profile people who are probably pretty judgmental.
Yeah.
And
they're probably concerned about that.
So, yeah, they were definitely concerned. And then, I just kind of decided, I was like, I've never, like, changed my opinion if I feel strongly about it to appease them. I've never been that person.
You're just like, I'm going to write my own ticket. All right, then I got to ask you this. You go through the show, and you're especially on Peter's season of The Bachelor, you were, I would say, if it's fair to say, extremely likable but polarizing. Like, when you thought something, you said it. You're just like, this is who I am. Deal with it, take it or leave it. Were there any professional, that's all I want to know, professional repercussions or pushback from your family given the way the show appeared?
No, actually, they didn't care at all. Like, I remember getting off the show, and I think they tried to, like, not give me the best edit in some degree, but it actually was fine. Like, I was okay with it. I could read through some of the stuff that, like, didn't necessarily go down that way, but I was like, whatever. But I remember,
definitely not your average reality star. That's for sure.
No. And believe me, the producers told me that right from the jump. They're like, we love you, but man, you are not, like, a good contestant. I was like, yeah, I understand. Like, I get it.
Lose your shit. Do what we tell you to do.
Yeah, and I was like, no. Where was I going with this?
All right, so I'm gonna go back into something else. So you finished the show, and I was curious about the reputation risk if they had any problem. You said that they didn't have any problem.
They didn't, and I was actually surprised by that. Sorry, that's where I was going. I was actually surprised because a lot of, like, our clientele was actually, like, so happy. So
really?
Now,
they were like, let's go Cal.
Yeah.
Team Cal.
Yeah, which I was shocked about.
So it actually worked in your favor.
It actually worked in my favor. I mean, not really, but it like, makes them, like, love that affiliation.
Did you find, again, trying to stick to the business side of this, did you find that having a family with a lot of success and, you've learned to carry yourself a certain way, did that work against you at all with the house or the entire show, just seeing, like, a confident, professionally successful person in a position where they're like, I don't need this, but I'm here if it works out?
I think everyone knew that was my mentality, but again, like, I'm going to watch my words. I'm not going to, like, put that in people's face or, like, make them feel that way. So, like, they would pick up on some things. Like, when I'd be like, my sister plays polo and my brothers play a lot of golf. Like, people are going to read in that and be like, who is this rich little brat?
Yeah.
But I genuinely don't think I, like, carry myself when I'm talking to people. I don't, like, sit there and, like, purposely bring it up to make you feel lesser about yourself. Like, or I'm not going to sit there and, like, act like a brat. Like, there's a lot of people that maybe haven't known my background and they're like, they've been shocked to hear, like, when they start, like, hearing through the grapevine of things and they're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Because I just don't carry myself that way. Like, I'm sure there's, like, bratty parts of me and, but again, like, I've always been called out. Like, anytime I got a designer purse, I think I have, like, 2. And, I could afford them now that I'm doing my own thing, but, like, I just don't really care.
Sure. Yeah.
But anytime I would have, like, anything designer, like, my mom would, like, just
beat
the shit out of us. Yeah. She'd be like, what is wrong with you? I haven't raised you this way. If we were raised by my dad, we would be spoiled brats.
Yeah.
But my mom definitely kept us in check.
Yeah. Did you think about going back to law work after you finished The Bachelor?
Yeah, I was.
Did you?
I did for a little bit.
And then what was the breaking point that made you say, you know what, I'm done with this?
I think when you see, like, the finances coming
through. The numbers?
When you see the numbers coming through from social media. And I was like, man, like, I can get away from my brothers being mean to me and be successful in my own right. This is great.
Since you left the law firm to go do social media work, have you had any regrets or do you have any desire to be an attorney again?
Yeah, I do. And you know what? There are times where I miss just, like, the stimulation, just, like, the mental stimulation that you get. And again, it's, like, painful going to law school and you're like, this sucks. But when you're done with it, like, I was looking at some of my law stuff and I was like, man, it's like kind of hard to read this stuff now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you kind of lose it if you're not using it.
Totally.
And I miss that. I miss like, it's kind of just like this challenge in your head when you figure out how to put like A, B, and C together type of thing. You're like, oh my God, like it's rewarding.
Right.
So when you're not using your brain that much anymore, it made me miss it.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Just the whole stimulation. It's a different world. It's a creative angle, but it's not in the weeds. And you're also not always dealing with the most stimulated people in this space.
Yeah. I just get ragged on that.
But you were, I mean, yeah. You just got people chirping you every second about something. But so you were making, $50K a year being an attorney working for Dad. Now, I mean, you can make that in a fucking month as an influencer. But what's your and I'm sure you have. And I don't need any numbers on that because I just know you probably have. But my question to that is, what's your take on the future of it all? Like you see the money that's coming in now. Do you ever get worried about, does this end? Does this continue?
Yeah, for sure.
Will it last a year or two? And then do you think about what the professional plan would be then? Like, how does Kelley interpret the navigation of this like wild, wild west that
I hear you.
is
And
this world?
I definitely don't think it's going to be like it is now. And if that's the case, like, I'm not kidding, Jason. Every single penny that I have made, I've invested in it.
Wow.
I invested every single penny that I have made. Like, I'm not going, and again, like I haven't bought like a Chanel bag. I don't even own a Chanel bag. Can I go buy a $5,000 bag? Absolutely. But I would rather invest that than ever put it towards a bag. Like I don't know. It just would bother me to like waste money like that. And not only that, like in 2021, my parents were back in Chicago. So I was just thinking like, okay, how to, I'm making like really good money for myself. I don't want to rely on my family in any degree. What do I do? I was living out of my parents' house in Florida. And again, I know I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that.
Sure.
I know that's one of something that many people don't have. But I was like, you know what? For that whole year, when I am like
rent.
Making bank, I'm not going to pay rent.
Or
I'm going to go down there. And again, like it was kind of lonely. I was essentially living in like an old person's home for an entire year. But again, I travel so much, so it didn't really matter. But I didn't pay rent for an entire year. So every penny I had coming through social media, I took that money and I was just investing it. And again, like that's where my brothers come into play, is they're so smart when it comes to investing. So like I might not necessarily know what to do, but they teach me, they tell me what to do. I trust them. And so I've literally invested every penny for my future.
So almost every penny that's come from social media monetization has been invested.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's the Rob Gronkowski of The Bachelor. Every dollar that's coming from his NFL contract has gone into savings, which is amazing. 10 years from now, professionally, I know that's not your thing. It's not your thing projecting. But what does it look like? Like the dream. What is the dream to, at 10 years from now, to be a mother and just be with your, and that's an amazing thing. But that's amazing.
No,
like,
it is
what
amazing.
is
I don't
the
work
Kelley
like that,
Flanagan
though.
dream? I can't peg it down. I'm like moving left and right. I'm like, what is it? What is it she wants? What do you want out of your professional life?
I genuinely like, we'll see. And you know what? Something like sparked me a little bit. So one of the girls that was on my season, I don't want to say her name because I just don't know if she wants to be named, but she came to me, and I think that I'm in a very special place that not many people understand, okay? I have a law background, and I also know social media like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of rules and regulations coming into this field that, a 65-year-old guy who has no idea what Instagram is going to be dealing on these contracts. It's a different language.
Look what happened with Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
SEC just came down on, for anyone that doesn't know, SEC just came down on Kim Kardashian, and they came down on her because she was promoting a cryptocurrency, and it wasn't done legally correctly.
Yeah.
So
and she put hashtag ad on it, and
she did all the things she thought she did, which is all the things that we would have thought.
Oh, no. It was something along the lines of she didn't put the money amount that she made from it.
Maybe she didn't put the money amount. She didn't put how she was connected to it. I think it was more of a go check out Ethereum. And it was more of a blanket statement without any type of ad stuff. So she settles with SVC for 1 million something. We'll hit that in the recap. Stay tuned. We'll talk all about that. But from that, it has created this crazy ripple effect because now people are realizing this influencing thing is no fucking joke.
Yeah.
Like people are like, blow it off, shake it off. They're like, no, this is a massive, massive, huge, multi-billion dollar business that is growing by the second. And I think there's a lot of attorney work. I'll tell you a quick story. We do a lot of financial, banking, stuff like that. After the Kim Kardashian thing, I'm not going to name the company, we had a banking company reach out to us and say, hey, you did this ad for us in these dates, and it was great, and you complied with everything, but where compliance is today, those are outdated. You have to go remove them. So I'm talking like 2018, 19 shit.
No way.
So yeah, Evan and I are sitting there like, what the hell? We're digging through this, and we had to delete it all. So to your point, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
There is something huge with the legal world and social media.
Oh yeah, and I think it's going to take off. And again, the story I was telling, one of the girls, it's the most ridiculous story. Just wait for this. She contacted me. She was getting sued, and she was like, Kelley, I don't understand what's going on. Can you let me know? And she did one of those loophole giveaways where, tag, 6 of your girlfriends, follow them, and you follow them, and we'll give you a bag. So she did one of those. There was this guy who followed all of those 6 girls, and it started a massive fight with him and his girlfriend, and because he just followed essentially 6 new hot chicks.
Oh, my God.
And I guess they broke up. They had issues. I don't necessarily know the details on it, but he was trying to sue her for nominal damages, aka $6, I think it was.
Stop this.
Yeah. For I forget what it was. I think I have the contract, but defamation or something crazy. And she was like, what is this? And I looked at the case and I started dying laughing. I was like, listen, you don't have that much to worry about. This guy just seems a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
But he literally was suing all of the 6 girls for $6.
So you were getting sued?
Not me. One of the girls from our season.
Oh, one of the girls from your season was getting sued because she did a giveaway because this guy broke up with his girlfriend because of the giveaway. Because
he followed all of these girls. And then the girlfriend broke up with him for following them. Yeah, it was nuts.
I do think that, totally off topic, I think a lot of those giveaways are going to get crushed.
Yeah.
Because there's not much compliance with them.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we'll give this away. And there's not the... you would know this better than me, but all the legal bullshit with giveaways, and we're going to make sure it's equitable. I think that's
this one. There's different kind of giveaways. I've done a couple of them, and they were really fun to do because we would go buy a girl Louis Vuitton, and it would just give you exposure to another girl, and then if they liked you, they would continue to follow you. If they didn't, drop off. It doesn't hurt anyone. But yeah, it was quite crazy. This wasn't for a company. This was more of just go follow my 6 girlfriends. This wasn't hey, I'm giving away this for a company and all those rules and regulations were there.
Okay,
it was just go follow my 6 girlfriends who are also influencers.
So someone from Peter's season, we'll try and in the recap, we're going to guess.
I could say the name. I'll text her and see if
you'll text her. If not, in the recap, we're going to take a shot. Who got sued from Peter's season regarding a giveaway? I think there's going to be more of those lawsuits coming. It's a crazy world. All right. I got to ask you this. Professionally, you're a nomad. You're all over the place. Chicago, Miami. You got Peter in New York. Where is Kelley Flanagan going to live now that your work is flexible and your relationship status has changed?
It's a tough one. I love Miami, but it's not feasible for Peter. So, it's been tough. I've always been okay with New York. I think New York is amazing, but, it's something him and I have to talk about.
Figure out where you want to go and stuff.
Yeah. I don't think LA is necessarily my scene. I could see myself in New York way more than any of the other cities that, he has access to or United has a base. So, I don't know. We're not necessarily there. We have some conversations when that does happen.
Figure that stuff out. That stuff will come, and so will what's next for you. I do want to talk about the Lyme disease. So back in 2021, you were diagnosed with Lyme disease. Yep. You started this podcast off saying you were shot and you attribute it could be Lyme disease.
Yeah, it most likely is. I just sometimes like get annoyed with it so much, and I almost like to pretend I don't have it, and that sounds so bad.
Yeah.
But like I don't like to like be negative in that sense. So when I'm like feeling bad, like I don't want to like, I almost just try to like push through.
Yeah, but also I think the cool thing about what you've done, and it's even tied to your professional influencing career, because I think a lot of people are gravitating towards it and you're making an impact, is like you are an advocate for Lyme disease.
Yeah.
I had no idea about the severity of Lyme disease until I was honestly educated by you. And I think there's a lot of people out there that fall under that boat. I mean, what can you tell us about the diagnosis and what is like the status of how you're working on everything?
You know what? There was for 9 months, I was on like an extremely strict diet. I was doing like a lot of, God, I don't even know where to start, but I was on an extremely strict diet where I was only essentially allowed to eat meat and vegetables, like no drinking, no sugar, no fruit, like absolutely nothing. Like you can't mess up for one day type of thing. And then I had like a bunch of red light lasers where I would have to like go all over my body and like stick them in certain places to help, what was I saying?
The red light stuff has to do
No,
with
it helps with detoxing. And then I had like this plate that shakes and stuff like that. And then I would have to hear like light therapy and like noise therapy and all this stuff. And I think that it worked so well for my brother. The problem is I think that I was taking like so many supplements. So they give you just like these bottles and you have to take them like, I don't know, 25 times a day. I think that something in one of those bottles was still inflaming me because I was gaining so much weight. I was inflamed. Like you could just tell my body, like I'm probably like 20 pounds up from what I was like maybe last year. And I was like, why? You know what I mean? Like, why did that happen? And that was within the 9 months of me eating the cleanest
like
I possibly could. Yeah. So I was like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I think that like something within those bottles that I was taking, again, like if I'm allergic to it and I'm taking it 3 times a day, like imagine it messed me up. So I stopped it because I was like, this is not making me feel better.
Sure.
Now I think I'm just at a point where like I know how to eat healthy. I've taught myself so well to take like these little steps. Like the amount of massages I get, Jason, is absolutely insane. And it's not necessarily because like I want a massage. Like the first thing to go with my Lyme is like my muscles and my neck and shoulders, they just like tense up and they just like kill me. Like they just hurt. Like
just out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Like again, if I'm eating gluten or something that like triggers it, like it just like hurts. Like it hurts and it's like just hard. And then there's a bunch of other things that come with it, but yeah, it's tough, and I just try to stay as healthy as I can. And
this literally comes from a tick bite.
Yeah.
And you have no idea, like you
I'm
can't
convinced,
track this stuff, right?
No, agreed. And I grew up in the woods in Illinois, but also I think that you can pass it down. You know, there's studies that say you can, there's studies that say you can't, there's studies that say Lyme disease doesn't even exist. So at this point, like, just do your research and see what applies to you.
Yeah.
But no, I think that you can pass it down. And that's, like, something that scares me even more to, like, have kids and, like, have to worry about that stuff. And but, yeah, I don't know if I got it when I was younger. I don't know if, like, my mom had it. But, you know, because there's 3 of us in my family that have it. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like, what are the chances of that?
Yeah.
All right. For anyone that's listening and they want to learn more about Lyme disease or they want to find a way to get involved with Lyme disease and give back, what would you recommend and where would you tell them to go?
So I actually work with a company. I reached out to them and they're called iGenix, and they're like the testing for Lyme disease. So,
got it.
And what sucks is the majority of tests for Lyme disease are so inaccurate.
Damn.
Yeah. And the government also says that Lyme disease doesn't exist. So it's not covered by insurance. So nothing is covered by insurance. So iGenix right now in the market is the best test to take in terms of accuracy. And then I work with Global Lyme Alliance, which is a great company. They're like doing so much research. We just went to their gala here last week, and I think they raised like 1.885 million or something crazy like that. So that makes me super excited. But they just have a lot of knowledge behind it, and it's crazy. Like, they were telling me, I have a lot of Zoom calls with them and I talk to them a lot, and because they know I have a platform, and I try to share as much as I can to help them out, just to bring awareness. And it's just crazy, like, how people, you know, you could be totally fine. Like, there was a Broadway I think her name's Ashley. I can't remember.
Okay.
She's one of the Broadway girls, but she came on and she said her entire life, I think she's had Lyme for several years. She's fine. Like, you wouldn't know. And then just one day it was triggered.
Some people are just not impacted at all. And then some people, it turns their life around.
Yeah, because it can go, like, it's not always active. Like, it could just be dormant in you. And then if you're, like, going on benders or drinking a lot or not taking care of your body, then it could, like, come out and you're screwed. But she came on and just said, like, just one day it picked up. And then, having Zoom calls with them, even the vaccines and how people were going and getting vaccines and their Lyme wasn't active for 20 years. And all of a sudden they're, like, shot, like, completely shot.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a little nuts. You don't necessarily know how it's triggered, but yeah, it's a bunch of different ways.
It's a crazy, crazy, crazy disease. And I did some research on it. Lyme disease cases rose 44% between 2010 and 2020, and 14% of the world populations may have had Lyme disease. And then they also said, I think this is interesting, 75% of people who've contracted it will develop a rash on site. So not all people do.
No.
It goes undiagnosed.
I don't remember a rash at all.
Some people do. I mean, it's crazy
And
stuff.
what's crazy about those numbers too is I think actually a lot more people have Lyme disease than they know. But again, the government, like, who's going and getting tested for Lyme?
Yeah.
But I think this is a more common thing where people, like, have autoimmune issues and they're like, okay, now what do I do? Lyme is more acknowledged now than it ever was.
Yep.
So I think a lot of people have Lyme, but it was just never acknowledged.
It was never acknowledged.
I think that so many people have Lyme and they don't know.
And so where can they get tested with the group that you work with? IGeneX. Guys, check it out, especially if you're, I don't know, if there's any concern at all, like, why not get the information? All right, Kelley, let's end with this. We're doing a rapid fire here. It's from the Money Mafia. Those are the people that listen to the show. We're going to do a quick rapid fire, and then we're going to wrap up with your trading secret. Okay, ready for it?
All right.
First one, best deal you ever got on Instagram?
My manager's here. Help me, Evan.
Best deal you ever got her?
Restylane.
Restylane Botox.
No, Restylane filler.
Oh, Restylane
like lip filler.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
And it's funny because, like, it's so funny because my entire life, my face has always just been, like, round. Okay, so when I was going with one of my girlfriends, Kelsey, and I was like, no, I don't want filler. Like, I would always be afraid to get filler because I was like, I don't need more volume in my face. Like, this shit is already intense. So when I went there, and again, I haven't gotten it done. I want to go get it done again. But what they do is, like, I'm so cheeky right here, like in the front, the apples. So what they do is they actually can, like, slim my face. So they put the filler, like, in the back, like, kind of more by your temples. Oh. And so it, like, pulls it back and it just, like, makes it less voluminous here.
Interesting.
So people will always be like, oh my God, she got too much filler. And it's like, no. They could actually shape your face to not make it so voluminous because mine is already, like, I have so much volume in my face to begin with.
A hell of a partnership, pays well, and does you well. Yeah. I love that explanation breakdown.
But I used to be so scared. Now I'm like, oh God.
You're like, bring it on.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right, worst deal. Worst deal you ever agreed to? What can you think of?
I think there was, like, a giveaway that, with me, like, right now I barely have any makeup on. I just sometimes will get super dressed up and, like, other times I just don't care. And this giveaway, like, wanted me to, like, dress and look a certain way. And it was just, like, the way they were going about it to, like, kind of try to look prestigious. And I was like, that's just not me 100%. And it just, like, rubbed me so wrong.
Yeah.
Being like, no, she has to go put on makeup. She has to. And I was like, no, like.
So they're giving you these requirements that you typically on a day-to-day don't fulfill.
Yeah,
and it was like, that's not me.
Yeah. It was definitely a weird one.
Okay, that's good. All right, investment ops. You got one opportunity to invest in anything right now. It could be anything. What would you invest in? There's no wrong answer.
I mean, my most recent investment, I did a real estate investment fund, which was cool, and then. Actually, my most recent one was RX3. It's Aaron Rodgers' fund.
Oh, yeah.
So they have a bunch of, like, partnerships I'm going to start working with here. Like Theragun is a really cool one. They do core power yoga, stuff like that. So
awesome. All right, stay tuned to the recap. We'll talk all about their fund and what they do. Instagram influencer or lawyer? You got to pick one. What are you picking?
Influencing.
Chicago or Miami?
Miami.
New York or Miami?
Don't ask me that one. Probably Miami right now.
TBD. Peter's listening, so she's not going to say. Bachelor or Bachelorette?
Like, which one do I like watching
more? Which
you
prefer, yeah.
Probably Bachelor.
Bachelor or Bachelor in Paradise?
Probably Bachelor.
Would you ever go or do anything associated with the franchise again if they wanted to have you on a spin-off, or maybe even do your wedding if that's what happens?
Oh, man. You know what? I don't ever regret going on the show. I don't think I have any animosity towards them. I don't think they have any animosity towards me. But I don't think like I'm going to live my life around them. You know, am I open to something if it like benefits me in a cool way and it like sounds exciting? Sure.
Doors open.
Yeah.
All right. In 20 years from now, do you think you'll be which one of these two? A CEO or owning your entire business?
I would say owning.
All right. That's all I got. That's the Money Mafia Rapid Fire with Kelley Flanagan. Kelley, before we can conclude this episode, we got to get your trading secret, something people out there can learn from you. Money management, financial management, life navigation, career navigation, anything goes. It's your trading secret. Kelley Flanagan, what can you leave us with?
I would literally say if you guys want to be successful, what I have learned is making and keeping and establishing connections is one of the most important things you could ever do. It's crazy the amount of opportunities I've been given just because, you know, I've made a friend and they've wanted to help me out, and the amount of friends I help out too. But I think connections are one of the most important things that in order to be successful, you have to have.
That is a hell of a trading secret. And not only that, I know people love to stay behind their computers and their phones. There is no substitute to in-person. There's just not. If you look at every statistic out there about how quick something can accelerate, whether you're dating, whether you're looking for a business partnership or your next opportunity, if you see those people in person, it's going to accelerate it big time. Kelley Flanagan, thank you so much for joining us on Trading Secrets. Guys, stay tuned for the recap. We're going to talk about some of the statistics out there with the attorney field, the percentage of women, percentage of men, what law school looks like, the cost, median pay, etc. So stay tuned to the recap. And Kelley Flanagan, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find everything you have going on?
On Instagram, Kelley Flanagan, just at Kelley Flanagan, but I have an extra E in there.
Extra E and extra TikTok. Your TikTok's blowing up too. Yeah. I know Evan would want me to mention that because he wants more deals for you. Yeah. Guys, thank you for tuning to another episode of Trading Secrets, one you can't afford to miss.